My girlfriend's psychotic brother tried to crash our wedding, so I knocked him out with a bouquet. The first time I met Mark, my girlfriend's brother, he called me a beanpole with no backbone and challenged me to a pull-up contest on his garage bar. When I politely declined, he laughed like a comic book villain, saying, "No wonder Abby dates losers." I thought he was joking, but Mark wasn't just rude, he was obsessed with proving his superiority. Mark's antics started small but always carried a threatening edge. Once, he cornered me at a family barbecue, grabbed my burger out of my hand, and said, "Protein's wasted on you." Another time, he sent me a text that read, "Don't marry my sister unless you can bench your own weight," followed by a photo of him deadlifting. When Abby and I got engaged, Mark turned it up to 11. He began showing up at random places I frequented, the gym, my favorite coffee shop, even the dry cleaners, and loudly questioned my ability to provide for his sister. The worst was when he created a fake Instagram account pretending to be me and posted embarrassing photoshopped pictures of me in diapers, captioned, "Future husband material? Doubtful." The day before the wedding, Mark sent me a video of him burning an invitation to the wedding, saying, "I'm the only man in her life. You'll see tomorrow." Abby begged me not to let him ruin our big day, but as I stood at the altar, I knew it wasn't over. Sure enough, the church doors flew open, and there he was, Mark in a three-piece camo suit, dragging a cooler full of beer and carrying a megaphone. He boomed, "Stop the sham." As guests turned, horrified. Marching down the aisle, he threw a handful of beer cans at my groomsmen, shouting, "Catch, losers." Mark grabbed the microphone from the officiant and declared that the wedding was a farce. "This guy couldn't protect my sister from a stiff breeze, let alone a real threat," he sneered. When Abby yelled at him to leave, he smirked and said, "Not until he proves he's worthy." Suddenly, Mark pulled out a foam sword and lunged at me. "Duel me," he shouted, jabbing the sword toward my chest. I dodged and shouted back, "Mark, this isn't Game of Thrones. Get out." But he wasn't listening. Mark swung the foam sword wildly, knocking over chairs and sending flower arrangements flying. In a blind rage, he tackled me to the ground, sending us both into the dessert table. My tuxedo was smeared with frosting, and guests screamed as Mark grabbed a bottle of champagne and threatened to crown me with it. Fueled by anger and months of pent-up frustration, I grabbed a bridesmaid's bouquet, reared back, and slammed it into Mark's face. The impact stunned him long enough for me to get back on my feet. "You're done, Mark," I said, wiping frosting off my sleeve. But Mark wasn't backing down. He charged at me again, this time with a chair in his hands. Thinking fast, I ducked, and he crashed into the altar, taking the whole thing down with him. It was absolute chaos. The photographer kept snapping pictures, one guest fainted, and someone's kid started crying hysterically. When Mark tried to stand up, I grabbed the microphone and shouted, "Ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour, Mark the moron." The crowd roared with laughter, and Mark, humiliated, lunged at me one last time. This time, my best man stepped in, tackling him to the ground and pinning him there until the cops arrived. As Mark was hauled away in handcuffs, he screamed, "This isn't over. You're a fraud." Abby's mom sobbed, her mascara running, while her dad just shook his head in shame. The ceremony resumed, though it was clear the vibe had shifted. When we finally got to the vows, I couldn't resist adding, "Abby, I promise to love you, protect you, and never let your brother within a 10-mile radius of us again."